there is a notification which is coming. You can release your video order here. Is it for us or for you? Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay, so we are going live now. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the day 2 of the Industry Samurai Conference and Awards. The first panel that we have, I'll begin with it right away. Let me introduce to you our eminent panelists. We have Mr. Shailendra Goswami, who is the CMD of Pushkaraj Group, and we have Dr. Arvind Patel, Managing Director of Valgro India Limited.
Good morning. Good morning.
Gentlemen, I'd request you to introduce yourself a little more elaborately and share your experiences with our audience. I'll start with Dr. Patel.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Arvind Patel. Take care of Velgro Group of Industries. We are in metal finishing business. I am very much thankful to Massmix India and Atmanirbhar panel to deliver my views in this group. I am in this field since last 30 years and having the wide experience of industries and commercial market. I am working with so many association as an honorary post, president, vice president, chairman, vice chairman, somewhere committee member, and I am very well know the pain of industrialists, what they are facing today. So today we are discussing about our business policy, current scenario, and what is the Atmanirbhar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Shailendra, sir.
Yeah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shailendra Goswami. I am the alumnus of College of Engineering Pune 1974 batch and also an alumnus of Indian Institute of Management Bangalore 1977. Thereafter, I've served industry in corporate sector for 15 years and I started my business in 1992, completing almost 8 years on 5th of October 2020. In this business, we have 4 companies under the banner of Pushkaraj Group. Pushkaraj is the brand. Under this banner, we have 4 companies, and the objectives of these companies have been to reduce cost, and we have global sourcing, a network in 16 countries for technology, products, and services, both ways. We export as well as import. Then we have a distribution model called agency sales, where we distribute products for diesel engines, automotive, oil and gas, majority sectors, from around 25 world major companies, basically from Europe and America. And we are exclusive distributors for them for the chosen products. Then we have been doing technology forecasting. 10 years from now, what would be the technologies in various domains? We do that kind of forecasting. And under this banner, we are working on emissions. So today we have achieved Euro 6, but then we have been working for the last 5 years on this. So Euro 4, Euro 6 emissions. Then we are working on fuels, where we have diesels, gas, electric, and hybrids. Then we are also working on a reduction in fuel consumption. And now latest what we are working on is electrical mobility. So under the banner of technology forecasting, all these things, they come around. We do technology product sourcing and services, and then try to bridge the gap of technology with the Indian manufacturers and arrange for some kind of collaboration, joint ventures and things like that. Another aspect of our business is services, where we do engineering services in which we do design, development, prototype testing, and then IT services, where we work out on product services and training on different IT platforms. And lastly, HR services, in which we do psychometric assessments of individuals to establish the traits and the personality and the characters and whatnot. One more area where we have been very active after we have had so many problems on the trades with several countries around the world, we increased our exports on product and services also. So combining all this, we have 4 companies looking after different domains of engineering: mechanical, metallurgy, electrical, electronics, and information technology. And we have been quite successful in that, catering to Indian customers, more than 300 OEM customers we have it. And well, 28 years is quite a good time spent with the Indian industry. And as the business have matured and so is the organization, I have started spending time going back to the society or the alma maters or the institutions in educating them on the experiences that we have faced in the industry on manufacturing, on marketing, or distribution, or on technology, or things like that. So today I'm here to discuss with you the recent policy announced by Government of India on Atmanirbharta. And I must thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Goswami. Now we'll dive straight into the topic, which is Atmanirbharta or self-sufficiency. Ever since the Prime Minister announced this idea, spoke about this idea in May this year, industry circles are rife with various interpretations of the term. I want to know from our experts about what Atmanirbharta or self-sufficiency means in the manufacturing sector. We'll start with Dr. Patel. डॉक्टर पटेल आपका म्यूट पे है. डॉक्टर पटेल, आत्मनिर्भरता हमारे सेक्टर में लोग तरह तरह से कह रहे हैं. कुछ लोग कह रहे हैं कि पूरी तरह से रॉ मटेरियल से लेकर ब्रांडिंग तक हमें एनविजन करना है कि इंडिया में ही हो. कुछ लोग कह रहे हैं कि हमें ग्लोबल वैल्यू चेन का पार्ट रहना है.
राइट.
तो आपको क्या लगता है इसके मायने क्या हैं हमारी इंडस्ट्री में?
जो प्रधानमंत्री जी ने ये अभियान छोड़ा है कि आत्मनिर्भर बनो और आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनाओ
जी,
ये हमारे लिए आम पब्लिक के लिए बहुत मायना रखता है, क्योंकि आज तक हमने देखा है कि किसी न किसी पे हम लोग निर्भर ही रहे. रॉ मटेरियल के लिए या फिनिश गुड के लिए हम लोग हमेशा निर्भर रहे चाइना के ऊपर.
जी.
तो चाइना जब थ्रॉट कर रहा है तो आत्मनिर्भर बनने का जो अभियान उनको लगा कि नहीं सब इंडिया में ही बने, तो ये मैं कहूँगा कि प्रधानमंत्री जी ने आत्मनिर्भर एक नया नाम दिया है, बट ये मेक इन इंडिया का ही एक सेकंड स्टेज है. जस्ट मेक इन इंडिया को उन्होंने एक रीपैक किया है आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनाने के लिए. और एज पर एज प्रधानमंत्री कंसर्न, आत्मनिर्भर बनना मतलब सेल्फ रिलायंस को खड़ा करना, खुद पे विश्वास करके, खुद पे भरोसा करके एक नई इंडस्ट्रीज जो है उस इंडस्ट्रीज को नया बर्थ रीबर्थ देके नए तरीके से सोचना, ग्लोबलाइजेशन के वे में सोचना. तो यही उनका एक कहना है और इसमें मैं जरूर कहूँगा कि प्रधानमंत्री जी को सपोर्ट करना चाहिए और आत्मनिर्भर बनने के लिए जो भी हमसे हो सकता है वो पूरा हम लोगों को कोशिश करना चाहिए. और उसके लिए जो भी मिसिंग पॉइंट है वो हमें इमीडिएट उसको इम्प्लीमेशन में लाना चाहिए.
डॉक्टर पटेल, एक फॉलोअप क्वेश्चन ये है कि आत्मनिर्भरता के मायने एक तो होते हैं कि अल्टीमेटली हमें सोर्सिंग से लेकर मार्केटिंग तक जो पूरा प्रोडक्ट डेवलपमेंट लाइफ साइकिल है वो रीजनल हो. एक तो वो विजन हो गया. एक हो गया कि हम हाई वैल्यू गुड्स प्रोड्यूस करें या पूरे वैल्यू चेन में कोई एक हम डोमेन पकड़ लें कि जैसे हाई वैल्यू गुड्स हो गए, जैसे सेमीकंडक्टर्स हो गए, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स हो गए या फार्मा हो गया, और उस पर स्पेशलाइज करें और बाकी चीजें हम उनको आउटसोर्स कर दें जो इसमें स्पेशलाइज करते हैं. जैसे अगर रॉ मटेरियल कोई कंट्री कर रही है तो उनको करने दें, हम फोकस करें डिजाइन एंड रिसर्च पे. तो आपको क्या लगता है कि ये जो पूरा स्पेक्ट्रम है ये अल्टीमेटली इंडिया में होना चाहिए या हमें ग्लोबल वैल्यू चेन का पार्ट होके सेल्फ रिलायंस की तरफ सोचना चाहिए?
फिलहाल अगर हम लोग, आपका जो क्वेश्चन है उसमें अगर इंडिया में ही होना चाहिए ऐसा कह रहे हो तो हाँ, एज ए नेशनल बेनिफिट या तो नेशनल लवर मैं कहूँगा कि सब कुछ इंडिया में ही होना चाहिए। लेकिन चैलेंजेस ये दिख रही है कि जब तक किसी ग्लोबलाइजेशन में ग्लोबल कंपनी का या अपने से बेहतर जो कंट्री है उसके साथ अगर हमने हाथ नहीं मिलाया तो हम
जी
लोकलाइज नहीं कर सकते, लोकल नहीं बना सकते। द रीजन इज, आज की तारीख में हम लोग, हमारा अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट जो है वो बहुत बड़ा चैलेंजेस फेस कर रहे हैं। एम्प्लॉयमेंट, पढ़े लिखे लोग जो है उनको काम करना नहीं है और जिनको काम
जी
करना है वो पढ़े लिखे नहीं है, ये हमारा बहुत बड़ा चैलेंजेस है। एग्जाम्पल के तौर पे समझो मैंने इंजीनियरिंग किया है लेकिन मुझे इंजीनियरिंग का ई ही नहीं मालूम। जब आज का न्यू जनरेशन इंटरव्यू में आता है तो उनको मालूम ही नहीं होता कि इंजीनियरिंग में क्या करना है। इलेक्ट्रिकल बंदा आता है, इलेक्ट्रिकल में कौन सा हॉर्स यूज हो रहा है हमारे इंडिया में वो उनको मालूम नहीं होता है। तो मैं कहूँगा कि ये लोग अवेयर तो है, पढ़े लिखे तो है, बट अनअवेयर है उनको क्या काम करना है। तो ये हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ी चैलेंजेस है। एक ये हो गया। सेकंड हो गया, आज इकोनॉमिक रिफॉर्म करने की बहुत जरूरत है। आज राजकोषीय खाद आफ्टर कोविड बहुत बड़ा बन गया है और उसमें गरीबी इतनी आ रही है, बेकारी इतनी आ रही है और इससे न जाने और कौन से इश्यूज खड़े हो जाएंगे और कैपिटल ग्रोथ भी हमारा डाउन हो रहा है। तो पहले हमें ये 3 बेसिक चीज पे, जो भी हमारे पास युवा धन है उनको राइट वे में लेके जाओ, उनको उनके इंटरेस्ट के ऊपर पढ़ाओ। आज देखने जाओ तो 40,000 कॉलेजेस इंडिया में है, 1000 यूनिवर्सिटीज है और न जाने 1 लाख इंस्टीट्यूट है, बट ये सभी लोग सिर्फ एक फिनिश प्रोडक्ट बाहर भेज रहे हैं लेकिन वो फिनिश प्रोडक्ट किसी के काम में नहीं आ रहा है। तो जब तक हम लोग हमारे युवा धन को राइट पथ पे नहीं लेके जा सकते, आत्मनिर्भर बनना हमारे लिए बहुत मुश्किल है और यही चैलेंजेस हमें फेस करना पड़ेगा। तो फर्स्ट, आत्मनिर्भर बनने के लिए अपने युवा धन को आगे बढ़ाओ। और एंटरप्रेनर जो है, वो एंटरप्रेनर भी कैसे है, एग्जाम्पल दे रहा हूँ कि एंटरप्रेनर कुछ तो नहीं चले आ रहे। हमारे यहाँ 60% एंटरप्रेनर रहता है कि जिन्होंने बाप दादा के धंधे पे बैठे, उनको ट्रेनिंग की बहुत जरूरत है। वो जमाना चला गया कि पीढ़ियों से धंधा चलते आता रहा और आप एक ब्रांड नेम करते रहे। आज की तारीख में एंटरप्रेनर को पढ़ना भी बहुत जरूरी है। विदाउट ट्रेनिंग, विदाउट एक्सपर्ट एडवाइस, दे कांट ग्रो। अगर आपको ग्लोबलाइजेशन में जाना है तो आपको ट्रेनिंग लेना पड़ेगा, आपको लेटेस्ट अपडेट से जानना पड़ेगा और ग्लोबल कंपटीशन में क्या क्या आपको चैलेंजेस आ रही है वो आपको जानना पड़ेगा। ये 2 अगर चैलेंजेस आप स्वीकार करते हो तो डेफिनेटली आने वाले 5 साल में आप ग्लोबलाइजेशन में एक स्टैंड बना सकते हो, ये मेरा मानना है। ये
थैंक यू
मेरा
डॉक्टर
सुझाव भी
पटेल,
है।
बहुत पते। जी जी जी, बहुत पते की बात है। मिस्टर गोस्वामी।
Yeah. I would like to answer your question with a slight background or backdrop in mind. Actually, if we really look at it, we will have to go back to 5 or 6 years when we had imagined the economics of this country where manufacturing was contributing only 15% on the GDP. And this is what was not too far, not too close to what international standards are. In most of the companies globally, countries globally, the manufacturing contributes in excess of 25%, if not up to 35%. And this is where the challenge of the government of India was that how to really take up the manufacturing and bring it up to 25% at least in the GDP. Now, getting that additional 10% in the GDP contribution meant a lot of effort. What would it have given? It would have revved up the entire manufacturing ecosystem. The moment we say ecosystem of manufacturing, it means all the MSMEs, input, output, whatever is coming, raw materials. There will be, you can say, a revving up of the entire demand cycle, and there would be additional employment generation, there will be technology absorption, there will be process innovations, There will be improvements in every sector which contributes in manufacturing. So by taking one simple step, at that time, an announcement of Make in India was done. And that purpose of announcing that Make in India policy, which was done, I think, 2014 or something like that, in that there were more than 25 or 30 sectors which were covered up. And those sectors were given that kind of an access or freewheeling of doing something in Make in India concept. Now, Make in India concept was totally misconceptualized by most of the people worldwide. So I have spoken on this particular concept in 2, 3 international forums also. What exactly Government of India means by Make in India? What government is saying is that you try to make it in India, you can sell it anywhere in the world. We were not saying that you make it in India, sell it in India. So that was the first misconception which most of the people had. And that is where most of the foreign companies, they realized it, that what India is doing is trying to build up its own economy, build up its own manufacturing, build up its own upgradation in manufacturing technology, process, manpower, employment, and whatnot. And there's nothing wrong in any government thinking about its own country in a manner that is suitable to its own economical parameters. And that is where the world started realizing that this concept is absolutely global friendly concept, that if at all you want to do something, you come in India, we will provide you all the facilities, and then you make a cost effective product and then take it wherever you want to improve your bottom lines. And this is what started happening also. But then that was not good enough, because then what we were doing, for example, the foreign brands were getting into India, and they were building that brand under their own IP, intellectual property, so that knowledge was not transferred as far as India was concerned. And this is where that Atmanirbharta came about. Now, Atmanirbharta also has that background in the sense that we depend a lot on certain countries for imports on raw material, on technology, on componentry, on whatnot. Let us take an example. Why I talk beat around the bush. We are talking about China. We depend a lot on China because it is cost competitive, because they have the scalability, because they have the technology, and because they have the raw materials. For every manufacturing, what we have it, there are 3 countries we can look at. What you have narrated, one is South Korea, Japan, and then China. And we cannot take it directly from Japan because they're very, very expensive. We cannot take from Korea, they are very, very expensive. We can take it from China. I'll give you a simple example. Axle bearing coming from Japan may cost 250 rupees. Same bearing coming from Korea may cost 85 rupees, but the same bearing coming from China is only 13 rupees. I'm talking factually, and I have experienced that. Now, what is the difference that brings that particular cost down to that particular level? The time has proven it, that the amount of scalability they have it, they produce almost 1 million bearings per day. Whereas in Japan, they may be producing few thousands or 100,000 pieces a day or something like that. So now 1 million pieces per day means a lot. Therefore, your denominator goes up, and therefore your total product comes very, very cost effective. Now, when we are talking about these models in China, naturally, the Chinese fell out last 2, 3 years, firstly with US and then with the entire world because of this COVID, and which is where we thought that we might get stuck and not announcing that, because then we don't have anything directly against China as such, other than a couple of border issues, etc. We did not want to harm our bilateral relationship because we don't know, we are neighbors. So you can't afford to have a hostile neighbor. And that is where diplomatically, maybe we had to think about creating an sort of an ecosystem where we take care of this particular problem, that tomorrow we should not be at the receiving end in not getting the materials, in not getting the machinery and things like that. And that is where the Atmanirbhar concept came about. Now, what is the difference between Make in India and Atmanirbhar? Becoming an Atmanirbhar gets a design validation part of it into focus. In Making in India, we have a particular product. For example, Honda has come into India, Toyota has come into India. They brought their technology of engine making here. But what we are saying when we become Atmanirbhar, that we should be able to design an engine to meet those kind of parameters which maybe Toyota or Honda have come out with. We should be able to come out with the componentry. We should be able to come out with the fuel consumptions We should be able to come out with the reliability, and we should be able to come out with the kind of warranties they offer. Now, this is Atmanirbharta. And now to develop that kind of a skill, naturally, we require some kind of infrastructure. And there have to be players in this totally involved. So who are those players? One is the MSME, which constitutes almost 55% of the production in the manufacturing system. Then there is going to be a government who's framing up the policies, and naturally the industry, the bigger players who are the OEMs, so who really take care of the MSMEs in their domain. So naturally, Atmanirbharta became very, very important, because we are going to get stuck. Tomorrow's global economy or global socio-political relationships will decide who does what and how the countries will come up. There is an underlying, or for that matter, there is a broad guideline which has been already given by the Prime Minister and the government, where we would like to be climbing up to a $5 trillion economy. Now, to attain that $5 trillion economy, to attain that 25% of manufacturing into the GDP contribution, we need to frame up the entire metrics accordingly. And in that, this Atmanirbharta plays a very, very vital role. Today, in order to survive in the markets, we take shortcuts of going to cost-effective countries like China. But then tomorrow, the element of nation first or India first is going to come about. You know, the day before yesterday, when Prime Minister laid down the foundation stone of the new parliament building, he projected that as a sort of a brand for Atmanirbharta. And in that also he says that we have to think about India first, or the nation first. And that attitude has to build into our system here in India, in the industrial corridors. And people will have to realize that we need to develop our country. And if we need to develop our country, we need to develop our manufacturing setup. If we need to develop our manufacturing setup, we need to take care of our little brothers in MSMEs. We need to bring technologies and then get them educated and bring them up on the curve. And so that we as a country will progress together. Because tomorrow, meaning leave aside critical sectors like nuclear or defense or other sectors, where it is going to be 100% must that we must be Atmanirbhar. Because to guard our country, we need to take care of all these things. But then even otherwise, on our day-to-day consumption basis, you know, the extent of consumption that we have it, third of the population lives in India and China, of which 1.3 billion is here in India. So we have our own domestic consumption as much as possible. If we can create an Atmanirbharta, you can realize where our country will go. And this is where the concepts are. And talking about the global players in South Korea, Japan, and things, I think we will keep on addressing as we go along. But then these are the things. Having said all that, there are going to be a list of challenges which we'll discuss as we go along.
Interesting. This is very interesting, gentlemen. So, to my mind, the takeaway from your views is that and please correct me if I'm wrong, that Make in India originally was a starting point where the idea was to have an ecosystem in the country for manufacturing of goods. And then Atmanirbharta is the ultimate goal.
Correct.
Where we become self-sufficient and are able to participate in all the activities across the value chain, whether it is sourcing or assembly, or right at the top, design and development and IP. That is, thank you for that clarity. And that will help our viewers immensely.
I would add
Please.
here that if we would have given a cultural shock of becoming Atmanirbhar first in 6 years before, you know, industry would not have accepted that. So the first dose was injected as Make in India. The second dose has been injected of becoming Atmanirbhar. And simultaneously, when you have seen it, while the policies of Atmanirbharta have been announced, there are certain sectors on which legislations have come about. So the third one is going to be legislations where you will not be allowed to import certain things. For example, the air conditioning sector, where 55% of the imports were coming from China. This is where the government has clamped it. The social media, the various apps which are there. So the next move is going to be legislations which will come about, because we would definitely try to survive. In survival, we will always find some ways and means of doing things which may not be in tune with nation first or India first. So there have to be certain legislations, and unless and until legislations are there, the things don't move in the right direction. So I'm expecting a couple of legislations to come forward by which we will be forced to look at becoming Atmanirbhar.
That is very prescient, sir, because we are seeing a lot of reforms that may not be popular at present, but they may have a long-term vision as per this vision.
That's right.
Now, my next question is that what I understood was that this whole cycle or the journey starts with Make in India and then reaches Atmanirbharta at whichever point in the future. Now, this is a strategy that, to my understanding, and I'm very much interested as you gentlemen in history of how some countries reached or developed industrially. Now, this is a model very close to what China did, and I want to take your views on that. That they started with building an ecosystem, have all the suppliers, establish a base in China, and then they started manufacturing at scale, not at value. So if you see among all the products, almost all activities done in China are limited to, let's say, assembly, mostly at the assembling point, which contributes about 5 to 6% to the entire value chain. But they do it at scale. So they have the economies of scale. That's where they started. And then they are going towards the path of having technologies made in the country, IPs. They are the largest producers of patented technologies nowadays, currently. And that was the reason that they started to make enemies in the world, because their growth was so fast and technologies are getting made. So the other people who contributed to their growth, for example, the US, they were not expecting them to grow so fast. And now that they are going to the top end of the value chain, they have started to make enemies. So this is my interpretation. The other model was something that South Korea and Japan followed, where they identified certain points across the value chain, saying that, for example, Japan identified that automotive is a segment that has a bright future, great future. So they specialize in that. They sent their engineers to the US, and Toyota became a model for the whole world. Similarly, in electronics, Sony and other such companies from Japan, they took that electronics revolution ahead. So they identified the electronic segment, the automotive segment. South Korea called all its, and South Korea is the third model, is that they called all their large enterprises, and I think they call them K-balls and CHAEBOLs, the large enterprises, the Hyundai and the LG, and these were shipping companies. They said that we give you a free hand, you establish an industrial base and lift the economy. So these are the three models. But China's model is something that sounds very similar to what we are intending to do. And now that we already have an example in front of us, how to pursue this journey so that this is not as conflicting with other industrial nations as China is facing. So I'll start with Dr. Patel. ये जो जर्नी है, ये जो यात्रा है, ये आपको लगता है कि कैसे अच्छे से की जाए कि अपना भी विकास हो और दुनिया के साथ भी हम कंधे से कंधा मिला के चलें? ये आप बताइए कैसे हो सकता है?
म्यूट
या पॉसिबल है, कंधे से कंधा ग्लोबलाइजेशन में हम लोग मिला है, लेकिन उसके लिए we have to think about the improve the quality. Everyone has to think about the quality, what customer demand globally. हमारे यहाँ 90% लोग लोकल सेल्स करने की ज्यादा सोच रहे हैं इंस्टेड ऑफ ग्लोबल। एंड लोकल सेल करने में भी उनका थिंकिंग है चलता है, तो दैट एटीट्यूड वी हैव टू रिमूव फ्रॉम आवर बिजनेस साइकिल। चलता है निकालना पड़ेगा, ये कैजुअल मोड है। हमें कैजुअल मोड से बाहर निकल के हमें इम्प्लीमेशन और एक्शन मोड में जाना पड़ेगा। मॉडर्नाइजेशन ऑफ सप्लाई चेन मैनेजमेंट प्रॉपर करना पड़ेगा, और बेस्ट प्रोडक्ट देंगे तब जाके एक्सेप्टेंस आता है। और मैं स्ट्रांगली बिलीव करता हूं कि इनर स्ट्रेंथ और सेल्फ बिलीफ, ये दो चीज ही इस अभियान को सक्सेसफुल कर सकता है। हमारे यहाँ इनर स्ट्रेंथ, हम बाहरी स्ट्रेंथ में हम लोग ज्यादा मायने रखता है, बट इनर स्ट्रेंथ हमारा वीक है। वो इनर स्ट्रेंथ जब तक हम लोग स्ट्रांग नहीं करेंगे, यस मैं कर सकता हूँ या हम कर सकते हैं, ये हम की भावना जब आएंगी तब डेफिनेटली हम लोग ग्लोबलाइजेशन को कॉम्पीट कर सकते हैं। और इसके लिए हाई ग्रोथ स्ट्रेटजी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। हमें हमारी इंडस्ट्रीज में एक स्ट्रेटेजिक मॉडल बनाना पड़ेगा जो ग्रोथ के तरफ लेके जाए। और ये मेरा नहीं, हर इंडियंस का सपना होना चाहिए, हर सेक्टर का सपना होना चाहिए कि हमें कुछ बड़ा करना है, हमें कुछ बड़ा सोचना है। देन यू कैन रीच टू ग्लोबल वे, कहेंगे कंधे से कंधा ग्लोबलाइजेशन में मीट करना। हम एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं, मेरा 60% एक्सपोर्ट ही है बिजनेस। और जब इनिशियली जब हम लोगों ने एक्सपोर्ट का मतलब हम सोच रहे थे या एफर्ट्स कर रहे थे, तो एज ए इंडियन इंडस्ट्रीज हमारा इतना रेपुटेशन वर्ल्ड वाइड नहीं है कि लोग हम पे भरोसा करें। अभी एक हफ्ते पहले ही किसी दुबई के कस्टमर ने मुझे बताया कि अरविंद, आई एम इंडियन बट आई नॉट प्रीफर द इंडियन मशीन्स। व्हाई? पास्ट उन्होंने ऐसा कुछ फेस किया था, तो दे प्रीफर इटालियन और जर्मन मशीन्स। सी, जो हाई एंड कस्टमर है वो कभी चाइना नहीं जाएंगे। और आज का माहौल है कि यूरोप और यूएस से चाइना की बजाय इंडिया पे भरोसा कर रहे हैं। इस केस में अगर हमने हाई ग्रोथ स्ट्रेटजी मॉडल एक बना लिया, तो हो सकता है आप वर्ल्ड का कुछ 5 या 10% बिजनेस ग्रो कर सकते हो ग्लोबली। और इसके लिए कहूँगा मैं कि आपका इंटेंशन, इंक्लूजन और इन्वेस्टमेंट, ये तीनों बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट करता है। जब तक आपके पास इंटेंशन और इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं है, आप इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं खड़ा कर सकते हो। और विदाउट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर आप ग्लोबल कॉम्पीट करना, इट इज क्वाइट डिफिकल्ट। सी, कोरिया मॉडल आपने जो बताया कि दे आर थिंक इन लार्ज सेक्टर। हम रातों रात तो लार्ज नहीं बन सकते, बट वो कोशिश तो कर सकते, सेकंड फेज से थर्ड फेज में। आज नहीं तो कल लार्ज हो जाएंगे। बट एटलीस्ट एमएसएमई में अगर हम लोग काम करते हैं, तो मीडियम स्केल इंडस्ट्रीज भी अगर हम लोग अच्छी प्रोडक्ट बना के काम करेंगे और इनोवेशन में हम कॉस्टिंग डालते रहेंगे, तो डेफिनेटली हम ग्लोबल हो सकते हैं। हमारा इंडियन इंडस्ट्रीज का जो भी स्ट्रेटजी या माइंडसेट मैंने देखा है, दे आर नॉट इन इनोवेशंस। चलता है चलते दो, कुछ नया बनाने को किसी का मतलब वो है ही नहीं कि मैं कुछ नया करूं। पड़ोसी क्या करता है वो देखो, वो कमाया, हम वो बनाते हैं। एक्शन कब? चेंज लाना है। और चेंज तभी आएगा जब हम इनर सोचेंगे। और ये हाई ग्रोथ स्ट्रेटजी तभी आपको इम्पोर्टेंट महसूस कराएंगी कि आप खुद बदलोगे, बाद में चेंज आएगा। और ये जो भी एंटरप्रेनर का सोच है, वो प्लान और इंटीग्रेटेड नहीं है और इंटरकनेक्टेड भी नहीं है। प्लान तो कर लिया मैंने, लेकिन इंटीग्रेटेड करना, इंटरकनेक्ट करना और फ्यूचर प्रोग्रेस को पेपर पे लाना, यहाँ हम लोग पेपर पे ला भी देते हैं बट फिर मिसिंग कर देते हैं काम करने में। तो ये हमें इमीडिएट इम्प्लीमेशन करना पड़ेगा, इमीडिएट एक्शन लेना पड़ेगा, एक पेपर पे स्ट्रेटजी बना के कैसे आने वाले 2 साल में और 3 साल में काम करना है, तब जाके आप ग्लोबलाइजेशन के साथ मीट कर सकते हो।
Thank you, Dr. Patel. So, Mr. Goswami, which model would be most feasible for India among all these?
Yeah. I'd like to explain to you all the three models, basically the Chinese, Korean, and Japanese, and what we are doing here in India. There is a distinct you can say, differences between these models. Let us take China as such. China has two types of business models, which they really try to promote. As far as Chinese domestic demand is concerned, they have their own indigenous industry, which really works it out for them, their requirements as it goes along, the way we have our indigenous industry also. But there are other aspects of Chinese industry where they have foreign companies like American companies or European companies setting up shops in China. And when they set up these particular shops in China, Chinese government, they provide that kind of infrastructure. I will give you a couple of examples which I have visited myself. Very close to Shanghai, there are two provinces. One is Suzhou and another one is Hangzhou. If we go to Suzhou, you know, our residential complexes are not as good as their industrial complexes are. To that extent, when the foreign companies are coming and setting up their shops there, they realize that they are not in China. They are virtually in their own world as such. So all kinds of facilities and everything is provided. Now, these companies sitting there or rather setting up their shops in China are producing for the entire global demand. And this is what is the killer, in the sense that they have asked the companies to come down to China to make their products. Is the same concept of make in India. So make in China, take it wherever you want. Because the domestic demand is also there, plus the global demand also can be met because your bottom lines, they keep improving. So China more or less has taken this make in India concept much earlier into their stride, and that is where their economy went up on manufacturing. The second aspect of it really catches more of attention because Chinese companies have not ventured to go out and produce it. If you really look at it. And this is where the difference lies between China and Japan or China or Korea. Now in India, just imagine how many Japanese and Korean companies are there who are manufacturing it and how many Chinese companies are there who are manufacturing it. So the Chinese model is totally, you can say, inward sort of a model where they bring everything within their country and build up their economy and take the products out, finished goods out. So they are creating employment, they are creating infrastructure, they are creating processes, they are creating machineries and whatnot. Whereas Japan doesn't have domestic consumption as much. So naturally they are outward looking. So whatever that technology IP they have created, they try to spread it in the entire world by physically being present in those places. So China does investments in America. China does plants in America, India. They have so many things around the world, more than what they have it within their own country. It is the same in Korea. How many Korean companies are there in India? Samsung was the first one to put up a plant here. We are yet to get Vivo or the Chinese models to come on the mobile phones to come to India. So there is a difference between the thinking of the Japanese, Koreans, and the Chinese. And Chinese, what they have done it today, if they complain that India is doing it, they have no business to do that because they did the same thing. What we are trying to do, maybe we are a little late, but then it's never too late. We know we can catch up very, very fast. Another aspect of this, you must understand, the Chinese are too good on low tech, high volume. I have said this so many times, so many places. And we Indians are very good on high tech, low volume. And this is where the difference lies. So when I am going to make high tech, low volume products so effectively that the global customer already is accepting those products, then I must have a focus on the low tech, high volume products also, which is where time and again I have been saying that scalability and cost is becoming as a factor which will make me more global. And this is what is the difference which is there. And when we are talking of India, we should be talking about all these combinations, the Koreans, the Japanese, as well as the Chinese. I do not criticize the Chinese model because they thought for their country. And what we are doing, nobody should criticize because we are thinking for our country. We have a population to support. We have an unemployment to take care of. We have the industry to look at, and we need to grow. We have that 5 trillion as a target, and to reach that yes, we have intrinsic strength to go there. Other countries, they operate on a debt structure or debt economy, but we have maybe a deficit economy, but then certainly we have our own reserves. For example, the financial packages which were announced for the MSME have come from our own reserves. We did not borrow it from anyone. And this is the difference between India and other countries, that we are self-sufficient as it is. We are trying to become self-sufficient, that there are so many foreign direct investments coming in, there are so many people coming into India. We are becoming stronger. So the basic foundation, you can say last 5-6 years has been made so strong that we can sustain the shocks of such pandemics, or maybe the cultural shocks which are coming by Atmanirbhar or things like that. So when we are trying to create a model in India of Atmanirbharta, it has got to be a mix of everything. That yes, we cannot produce raw materials which are not in existence as far as India is concerned. So naturally, we will have to have collaborations with some countries, and we will have to do it on a win-win scale, that nobody can take us for a ride on that. Where we do not have substitutes on sourcing, we have to create technology options to substitute that. I will give you a simple example of Li-ion batteries for electric vehicles. The lithium, 70% of lithium production is done in China, and balance 30%, of which 10 to 15% they have already acquired around the world. So almost 80 to 85% of the lithium production around the world is being controlled by China. So they want to control the battery production. And this is where our own laboratories in ISRO and Tata's and other companies have thought about it and created a technology option to replace lithium ion batteries with something else, or get a better technology which could meet our norms of emissions or whatever it is. So ultimate aim is, if emissions, to control the emissions, you don't have to go via electrical mobility itself. And if we can go via electrical mobility with a different kind of a composition of batteries, then yes, we should be able to do that. So we will have to think in that manner, that yes, wherever there is a monopoly on supplies, we will have to collaborate with them and create a win-win situation on contracting, and then simultaneously find substitutes to replace that monopoly as far as raw material is concerned. And then we have to think about setting up factories domestically to meet the demands domestically. And we also need to look at the possibility of global trade. Not possibility, we have to think about the global trade. As Arvind Bhai has said, that we are more of an inward-looking society than outward-looking. And if at all we need to have the cost under control, we have to have that scalability. And if we have to have that scalability, we need to be a global player, because we cannot increase production and land up with no demand and the stocks lying with us. So we have to create a global infrastructure, global ecosystem in which our products will get absorbed. So our model should be domestic as well as global, and both these models have to be given a different treatment. We have to become a low-tech, high-volume player as well. And for becoming low-tech, high-volume player, we need to add up manufacturing facilities. Our MSMEs are very, very strong people. They are very, very good in creating that product within no time. I will give you an example of a PPE kit. In India, nobody used to make it. And today we have, just go by the numbers, there are several lakhs kits which are being produced every day. So if we decide to do it, and if we decide to think that India first or nation first, we are capable of doing all these things. And I'm very, very optimistic, and I'm very, very positive that our country has the necessary talent, our country has the necessary infrastructure. We have the bureaucrats or the administration absolutely in right place. They want to support the industry, and it is the industry who should be taking the first step forward and then pushing it out. And we need to look at it globally.
That's a brilliant point, sir, as you present all points such succinctly and brilliantly. Now, the model that you spoke about reminds me very much of India's pharmaceutical industry, in that they are among the leaders in the world in generic drugs and predominant suppliers, for example, in Africa and other developing regions. And at the same time, we have biotech companies who are working on the latest technologies. So we have both ends of the spectrum very busy and active in India. And I think that's a very good model to emulate going by the definition that you shared with us. Now, in the automotive industry, so that's where I had a certain question, is that with the Make in India and Atmanirbhar idea, the automotive industry has been in a tumult because on the one hand, the policy is forcing them to go towards the EV side and adopt what is happening outside in the world. But there are other technologies also coming up like hydrogen fuel cell and things like that. So anyway, so that's a policy thing, but that was something that occurred to me, is that on the one hand, we are saying that let's try and move towards high tech and high value products. Then we have industries that promote, that are emulating what other countries have been doing in the past, like in EV. The US has already become a leader, and that is put our own automotive industry in some sort of a struggle. So my takeaway is also that there needs to be a clear definition of what these goals are, what are the best examples in the world to emulate in order to achieve these goals. My next question to you is that as a manufacturer, coming to the individuals, that one should become the change one wants to see in the world. So coming to the individual level, as a manufacturer in India, how do we start on this journey of becoming Atmanirbhar? I'll ask Dr. Patel to throw light on this. Dr. Patel.
आपका क्वेश्चन एक बार रिपीट करिए।
जी, तो मैं कह रहा हूँ कि इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे कि हमें जो चेंज चाहिए दुनिया में, इंडिया में, वो हमें पहले खुद से शुरू करना पड़ेगा।
राइट।
तो इंडस्ट्री तो बाद में आत्मनिर्भर होगी, हम पहले कैसे एक मैन्युफैक्चरर कैसे आत्मनिर्भरता की तरफ कदम बढ़ाएं?
राइट। इसके लिए मैं कहूँगा कि गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर या सरकार के ऊपर सब कुछ ठोकने की बजाय हमें खुद को कुछ करना पड़ेगा। अगर हर बार हम लोग गवर्नमेंट को कहेंगे कि आप हमें सपोर्ट करिए या हमें सब्सिडी दीजिए या हमें रिवाइवल करने के लिए बेनिफिट दीजिए, तो उससे आत्मनिर्भर की जगह पे आप गवर्नमेंट पे निर्भर हो। तो सेल्फ रिलायंस खड़े करने के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज आ रहा है कि मैन पावर आज नहीं मिल रहा है। हमें आत्मनिर्भर का प्रोजेक्ट अगर फेल नहीं करना है और उसको सक्सेस करना है, तो अगर मेरा एनालिसिस लास्ट 3 साल का कह रहा है कि 16-17 में 14 मिलियन पीपल आर अनएम्प्लॉयड, जो 6% के आसपास था, जो 17-18 में 12% बढ़ गया। 19 के अंदर 60 मिलियन पीपल आर अनएम्प्लॉयड, मतलब भारत की जो भी जनसंख्या है उनका 24% लोग आज अनएम्प्लॉयड है। और आफ्टर पैंडेमिक सोचना ही मुश्किल है। ये जितने भी लोग अनएम्प्लॉयड है, आज पकड़ लो कि 25 से 30% लोग अनएम्प्लॉयड है, उनको अगर प्रॉपर ट्रेनिंग दिया जाए, उनके पास जो नॉलेज है उस नॉलेज को शार्प करके उनका फील्ड का अगर ट्रेनिंग दिया जाए और पर्टिकुलर उनके सेगमेंट में उनको इन्वॉल्व किया जाए, तो हमारा ये पहला फेज का चैलेंज हमारा सॉल्व हो सकता है। आज देखने जाओ तो एजुकेशन जो हम लोगों ने लिया हुआ है, उसी एजुकेशन का जॉब कहीं नहीं मिल रहा है, आपको डिफरेंट ही मिल रहा है। चाइना क्यों सक्सेस हुआ? चाइना ने जो भी अपने यूथ को पढ़ाया उसी जगह पे उसको जॉब भी दिया और उससे उसका प्रोडक्टिविटी, उत्पादन क्षमता मिला। जबकि हमारे यहाँ कॉमर्स ग्रेजुएट मैकेनिकल का काम करता है, मैकेनिकल ग्रेजुएट ट्रांसपोर्ट का काम करता है, ट्रांसपोर्ट सप्लाई चेन मैनेजमेंट का आदमी कहीं टीचर बन के खड़ा है, और जो टीचर है वो टीचर बनने की जगह पे उसका मोटो कुछ और है। तो हमारे यहाँ ये सिस्टम इंटीग्रेटेड, हमारा जो इनर है वो इंटरनल लिंक नहीं कि मुझे क्या करना है, किस फील्ड में जाना है। तो नॉलेज हमको इम्प्रूव करना पड़ेगा। लैक ऑफ नॉलेज एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है। सेकंड, हम जो भी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन करते हैं उसका टाइम लिमिट कुछ नहीं होता है। हमें एक टाइम लिमिट भी बढ़ाना पड़ेगा कि ये मेरा टाइम लिमिट है, उसी के अंदर मुझे ये एक्शन प्लान को सक्सेस करना है। और थर्ड, जैसे मैंने पहले कहा, सेम हम लोग अवेयर है बट अवेयर नहीं है कि हमें क्या करना है। इसमें से
बहुत
बाहर
बढ़िया।
निकल इन इल्यूजन, हम लोग भ्रम में हैं कि मैं बहुत बड़ा
हाँ।
आदमी हूँ, या मैं बहुत कुछ करता हूँ, या तो मेरे
हाँ,
जैसा कुछ भी नहीं है ना।
हाँ,
मैं अगर छोटी इंडस्ट्री से भी बात करता हूँ, इवन एग्जांपल मैं मेरा ही दूंगा कि कहीं किसी कस्टमर से अगर बात करता हूँ तो ऑलवेज मैं पहले कहता था इन ईयर वी आर बेटर। अगर आप बेटर हो तो ग्लोबल कॉम्पीट क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो? मैंने अपने आप को सवाल पूछा था आज से 5 साल
जी,
पहले कि मैं यार
जी,
कस्टमर को इम्प्रेस करने के लिए बोल रहा हूँ, मैं तो इंडिया में का पहला आदमी हूँ जो इतना बढ़िया मशीन बनाता हूँ। वाई आर नॉट सक्सेस इन ग्लोबली? इवन लोकल ऑल्सो यू आर नॉट टेक केयर ऑफ द मल्टीनेशनल कंपनी। जिस दिन मेरी आंख खुल गई कि नहीं यार मैं तो इंडिया का मल्टीनेशनल में भी नहीं जा सकता हूँ, तो ग्लोबल की कहाँ बात है। तो ये थिंग से बाहर निकलना पड़ेगा। प्लस आज का जो बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है पैंडेमिक के बाद, जो पैंडेमिक के पहले भी मैंने और पैंडेमिक के ड्यूरिंग लॉकडाउन के टाइम में भी वेबिनार में काफ़ी जगह पे मैंने डिलीवर किया था स्पीच, उसमें मेरा था स्ट्रांगली रिकमेंडेशन कि पैंडेमिक के बाद, ये महामारी के बाद मार्केट क्रैश होगा और इतना इन्फ्लुएंसन बढ़ जाएगा कि लोगों की खरीद शक्ति कम हो जाएगी, बाइंग पावर कम हो जाएगा। आज इंडस्ट्रीज को जिंदा रखना है तो पॉसिबिलिटी बहुत कम है। एग्जाम्पल के तौर पे बता रहा हूँ कि हर रॉ मटेरियल का कॉस्ट 40% बढ़ गया है। जो चीज समझो 40 रुपये पर केजी लोहा मिलता था, आज 60 रुपीज केजी हो चुका है। ऑलमोस्ट 40 to 50% कॉस्ट बढ़ गया। ऑलमोस्ट 100% कॉस्ट बढ़ गई है। मेन पावर बोल रहा है सब हमारा सैलरी बढ़ाओ। इंडस्ट्रीज चल नहीं रही है और पीछे से सभी जगह पे कॉस्ट बढ़ रही है और फाइनल फिनिशिंग का कॉस्ट वही है, बढ़ा नहीं है। क्यों? बाइंग पावर नहीं है। तो आज इंडस्ट्रीज कैसे रन करना वो बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है। तो मैं थोड़ा रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा या तो सुझाव भी दूंगा सरकार को कि लेबर रिफॉर्म पॉलिसी उनको सेट करना पड़ेगा वापस, कुछ सोचना वहां पे। सेकंड, कुछ लिबरलाइजेशन सरकार को करना पड़ेगा क्योंकि आज इंडस्ट्रीज की हालत उन्होंने बहुत
डॉक्टर
खराब कर।
पटेल,
हाँ जी।
जब जब आप लेबर रिफॉर्म बोल रहे थे तो थोड़ी देर के लिए वो फीड फ्रीज हो गया। आप क्या कह रहे थे रिफॉर्म के बारे में, क्या सुझाव देंगे?
ठीक, हाँ, लेबर रिफॉर्म करना पड़ेगा ऐसा मेरा कहना था कि एक गवर्नमेंट को पॉलिसी डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा लेबर लॉस। सरकार ने आज बताया कि ईपीएफ 12% ईपीएफ सरकार देंगी और 12% इंडस्ट्रीज देंगी। वहां पे लेबर का इन्वॉल्वमेंट कितना या सरकार का इन्वॉल्वमेंट कितना? मैं कहूंगा अगर सरकार 2000 करोड़ या 3000 करोड़ आत्मनिर्भर पैकेज में डाल रही है और उसमें से 3 लाख करोड़ रुपीस एमएसएमई को दिया हुआ है, लेकिन इस एमएसएमई के पास क्या आया पैसा? जब तक एमएसएमई के पास किसी भी रास्ते से फंड फ्लो नहीं आएगा, एमएसएमई खड़ा होना बहुत मुश्किल है। तो एक लेबर रिफॉर्म करना चाहिए, लेबर लॉस कम करना चाहिए। फैक्ट्री एक्ट में जो भी आज हर्डल्स है वो फैक्ट्री एक्ट हर्डल्स उनको तुरंत निकालनी चाहिए। सी चाइना और जापान, गोस्वामी साहब ने बताया कि जापान बहुत आगे बढ़ा। क्यों? आपने भी बताया सर कि जापान में फ्री हैंड दे दिया इंडस्ट्रीज को, और जिस कंट्री में इंडस्ट्रीज को या एंटरप्रेन्योर को फ्री हैंड दिया हुआ है वो इंडस्ट्रीज ग्रो कर रहा है। और उसका बहुत बड़ा एग्जांपल चाइना और जापान है हमारे पास। हमारे यहाँ मल्टी विंडो होने की वजह से हम इंडस्ट्रीज ग्रो ही नहीं कर पा रहे। हम एंटरप्रेन्योर तो है बट कॉर्पोरेट कभी नहीं बन पा रहे। अगर आप सर्वे देखोगे तो 1 लाख एंटरप्रेन्योर से मुश्किल से 1 या 2 लोग आज कॉर्पोरेट बने हुए हैं या ब्रांड बन के बैठे हुए हैं। बाकी सब लोग खाया पिया और ऐश किया। इसको मैं सक्सेस नहीं कहूंगा। अगर सक्सेस करना है आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान में, अगर आपको ब्रांड बिल्ड करना है तो आपको एक एनवायरमेंट फ्रेंडली एनवायरमेंट खड़ा करना पड़ेगा जिसमें एंटरप्रेन्योर बिना डरे इम्प्रूवमेंट की बात करे, बिना डरे एक्सपांशन करे, बिना डरे सबके साथ मिलकर काम करे, ग्लोबलाइजेशन कंपटीशन करे, ये बहुत जरूरी है। तो सरकार की कुछ पॉलिसी एंड तक जाए वो बहुत जरूरी है। पेपर पे बहुत सारी पॉलिसियां है बट नीचे तक नहीं आ रही है। या तो समझ लो लैक ऑफ ब्यूरोक्रेट्स एंड एंटरप्रेन्योर हो सकता है, या तो इंटेंशन ही नहीं है नीचे तक लाना, सिर्फ अखबार में खड़ा करना, या तो इंडस्ट्रीज को बचाने का कोई प्लान ही नहीं है। भारत देश गरीब था, गरीब होना चाहिए और गरीब रहेगा, ये सोच जब तक आम पब्लिक से निकलती नहीं है तब तक हम आत्मनिर्भर भारत नहीं बना सकते। ये बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है और इस चैलेंज को रिमूव करने के लिए मैंने पहले ही बता दिया कि यूथ को गाइड करना पड़ेगा। यूथ अगर गाइड हो गया और अवेयर हो गया तो डेफिनेटली हम लोग वोकल से ग्लोबल हो सकते हैं। लेकिन कुछ पॉलिटिशियन आज यूथ को मिसगाइड कर रही है और इसीलिए हमारी चैलेंजेस हम एंटरप्रेन्योर पे आ रही है। हमारी जिनकी आंखें खुल चुकी है वो इंडस्ट्रीज पे आ रही कि उनको जितना भी काम करना है अपने टीम को एजुकेट करके उस हिसाब से काम लोकेट करके आत्मनिर्भर खुद बनना है, लोगों का ना देख के अपने पे कुछ इम्प्लीमेशन करना है। ये मेरा मानना है।
वेरी इंस्पायरिंग डॉक्टर पटेल। बहुत सारी बात आपने ऐसी बोली जो सोचने वाली बात है, मनन करने वाली बात है और उस पर एक्शन लेने वाली बात है।
थैंक यू आनंद जी।
थैंक यू डॉक्टर पटेल। गोस्वामी सर,
Yeah.
आपका क्या कहना है?
In Atmanirbhar, there is first half is Atma, and me myself. So I take it on me to make our country Atmanirbhar. And where do I start? I think I will have to start on the basic functions of my own enterprise, my own manufacturing setup. Now, what are the constituents of that? The biggest is the workforce. Now, historically, we have been having different styles of engaging with the workforce on manufacturing. And today, if we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat and we are talking of globalization, then we will have to change these things, and then we will have to upgrade uh, our manpower skills. Now, those skills can be upgraded with the help of outsider or within the organization, depending on the availability. But then certainly the upskilling will have to be done of our existing workforce, which has not happened for a long time because we did not really look at it in that perspective. As has been said during the discussion, that whatever was being made was getting sold, so the need was not felt. But today, we are going to be in competition not only domestically but then globally if we want to be a global player after becoming Atmanirbhar. And that is when you will have to follow certain methods or certain styles of doing business in which the workforce comes predominantly the highest because they are the ones who really are creating a product. So my first priority when I have to contribute towards Atmanirbharta is to upgrade my workforce on various skills which are required to discharge his duties within the organization in the best possible manner. Now, what all are those skills, who will impart, etc., is a different subject, so I would not like to get into that. The second aspect which contributes into the effectivity or the efficiency is the process. The process has been outdated. We have been using the same old type of machinery because uh, it was just getting sold, the same concept. Whatever we were making, however we were making was getting sold. We have never crossed certain global timelines. For example, now people have started realizing in automotive sector at least that we have to give 5-year warranties. And wherever there were manufacturers contributing towards automotive manufacturing, they have improved on their processes. They have made their processes defect free. They have made their processes to produce in those many numbers to meet up the demands of the automotive industry and the 5-year warranty clauses. Because now the industry in automotive at least is very, very strong as far as these warranty clauses are concerned or product liability clauses are concerned. And that is where I have to improve on my process. Now, the improvement in process has to come from the third generation or the second generation at some places to the fourth generation of what we say Industry 4.0. Industry 1 was a mechanical one, Industry 2 was a PLC based manufacturing, Industry 3 was a fully automated, and Industry 4 is the cyber physical. Now, what is cyber physical is that the machine is talk to machine. There is a less interference from human participation in the manufacturing process. Therefore, once you program the machines or once you program the entire process of a part coming out of a line, it is totally defect free or zero defect, what we say in Japanese terms. So the concepts of Industry 4.0 will have to be taken up. Industry will have to migrate in that Industry 4.0. Now, this brings back to my first point, that upskilling of manpower to understand what is that Industry 4, to understand the IoT and the artificial intelligence concepts which are getting into manufacturing is a must. Otherwise, I unilaterally cannot migrate to Industry 4 without training my manpower. So I cannot retrench my manpower. So I have to train them. I have to upskill them to take up that Industry 4.0, whatever that manufacturing process upgradation I will have to do. Because whenever we are talking about global business, it's a very, very long process. There are long validation chains which are involved. Initially, the documents are getting assessed, due diligence is being done, financial, technical, business-wise, how you have catered to your customers, how have been your warranties, how have been your product reliabilities, and how your products have failed, and what all you have done with respect to those failures. The amount of knowledge which you have to share with the global customers is phenomenal. One can earn a PhD out of that. So when we are talking about globalization, it is just not that I go to New York and then sit with somebody and then sell the material. No, the process is almost 6 to 8 months long, in which there are so many things which are required to be shared. As I said, documentarily, there are audits which take place. I have been involved in a couple of audits, in doing audits for suppliers who are going to become suppliers to America. And then I have realized that it's a 5-day job of an audit of a big company. And it comes out as a 40 to 60 page report of that entire company, giving the entire kundali. In Hindi we say ज्योतिष में कुंडली देखते हैं, तो ये कंपनी का कुंडली हम पेश करते हैं to our customer, and in that all the details are given. So we, as your question is very rightly put, that I have to start improving myself first on manpower, on the workforce, on skilling them, on the process that is this thing. I will have to lay down the norms of productivity. Like we have had earlier discussions, that we take a bad name because what we say we do not mean. If I say I want to deliver it on 30th of December, I never do that. And if I cannot deliver it on 30th December, I tell them on maybe 1st of January that I could not deliver. We should be telling them on 20th of December that following are the problems because of which I cannot deliver it on 30th December, and take a pre-approval for postponing that delivery. First of all, such excuses are not acceptable. So my productivity norms will have to be entirely changed. I will have to follow an entirely different philosophy of not giving excuses. When I accept the order, that is the mandate which I will have to see to it that it gets obeyed at any cost. Whether you lose money or whether you earn money is secondary, but credibility is more important. If you have credibility, you will get chances to earn more money. But if you lose credibility, even though this particular deal could be profitable for you, that deal is not going to come again because you did not stand out on your credibility. So productivity norms will have to be certain. We need to enforce the commitments within the organization and see to it that culturally everyone is tuned up to deliver. It is not the job of a managing director or a plant manager or a chief of operations or somebody like that. The onus lies on that. The responsibility or the ownership of an assignment on a global platform or a global economy has to be taken by everyone who is participating in that process or in that organization. Because the very fact somebody is there, he is contributing, that is why he is there. So the responsibilities get really delegated to everyone, and everyone must take it. Pushing it to somebody is not going to work. So we need to be very, very the same. I will have to evaluate my entire cost structure. My cost structure was based on certain on outdated materials, on outdated processes and things like that. So I will have to go and take the new process, new concepts of costs, and then work it out, and then establish a parity between my cost and the parities which are prevalent globally. Then only I can be a player on that. The most important part is that I must increase my reach globally. Sitting in India, I cannot do business in America. So I will have to strategize my distribution network, my selling network or sales network, or my reach in different countries where it matters most to me. We cannot do it across globally, but then there could be certain countries which could be the leaders in your priority, and that is where you will have to increase your reach. And lastly, the technology part of it. The product which I'm producing, am I producing it of the best technology? Has that product been obsoleted somewhere else? Or is it the latest as far as the technology is concerned? And this is very, very important because I cannot be selling a Euro 4 engine in a Euro 6 market. It's the same way. So my product has to be withstanding the norms of the day. So the technology has to be commensurate. So if I don't have a technology, I will have to look for the collaborations for that kind of a technology available domestically, if not overseas, and then try to bring it in and absorb it and then produce it. Now, these are the things which I, as an entrepreneur, would have to undergo in order to contribute towards Atmanirbharta. Now, thereafter, the requests of the governments doing certain things will come about, but that is not my job. First of all, I will have to clean up myself. The cleansing has to be done within the system first, and then maybe I would be in a position to request somebody that please help me, and then people will look at us.
Thank you, sir. That's very insightful and thought-provoking. Now, my last question, because we have about 15-20 minutes, and if we could have some questions in between from the attendees, but I do want to have your opinion on this and your thoughts. The Atmanirbharta is based on the survival, sustenance, and success of an entrepreneur, without which an entrepreneur cannot be Atmanirbhar. So, as Dr. Patel rightly raised this point, that during this crisis, there are some sectors where the demand is nearly absent and the prices on the supply side are skyrocketing. मेरा भी अनुभव ये है कि जब मैं बात कर रहा था इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट से सच एज योरसेल्व्स, तो पहले ये बात तो थी कि हो सकता है कि रिकवरी जो कर हो वो वी शेप्ड होगा, लेकिन बाद में धीमे धीमे जब मिड ईयर में आए तो फिर बोलना शुरू किया कि अभी यू शेप्ड होगा, स्लो रिकवरी होगी. अब ये समझ में आ रहा है कि अभी के शेप्ड है, कि कुछ प्लेयर्स हैं दे आर कंसोलिडेटिंग द मार्केट एंड कुछ प्लेयर्स हैं जिनके पास मार्केट ही नहीं है, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द सेक्टर, डिपेंडिंग ऑन नंबर ऑफ फैक्टर्स. कुछ लोग कह रहे हैं जो डिजिटाइजेशन में आगे थे, इंडस्ट्री 4.0 में आगे थे, वो आगे बढ़ गए फॉर नंबर ऑफ रीजन. सो अभी के शेप लग रही है. अब आपका मैसेज क्या है फॉर मैन्युफैक्चरर जो ये जो के दो बिंदु है, दो लाइनें हैं, उनके कहीं बीच में, अब वो देख रहा है कि उसको तो जाना है कि हायर कर्व पे, स्टीव कर्व पे जाना है, बट उसके सामने जो मार्केट रियलिटी है वो उसको इंक्लाइन पे ले जा रही है, स्लोप पे ले जा रही है. तो ऐसा कैसे वो कर सकता है? एक मिनट, अगले पैनल के, हाँ, Mr. Mukherjee for the next panel is here. So anyway, so this next panel is going to start in the next 45 minutes. It's very kind of him to join us. So we'll continue this discussion for the next 20 minutes. तो ये मेरा सवाल है कि वो कैसे अपने बिजनेस को कंडक्ट करे कि उसको ग्रोथ मिले, ना कि लॉसेस मिले. डॉक्टर पटेल, आप बताइए क्या चॉइसेस हैं और कैसे इसको बेहतर बनाना.
बहुत बड़ा आपने एग्जांपल दिया, वी शेप, यू शेप एंड के शेप. मैं बिल्कुल बिलीव करता हूँ कि आज की तारीख में इंडियन इंडस्ट्रीज के सेट पे खड़ी है। ऑलमोस्ट 60% इंडस्ट्रीज बिंदु पे खड़ी है। उसको के में राइस पकड़ना है या बॉटम पे जाना है उसको नहीं मालूम। वो खड़े होकर सोच रहे हमें आगे क्या करना है। तो जो अभी सोच रहे हैं हमें आगे क्या करना है, वो ग्रेजुअली के डाउनफॉल में जाएंगे, क्योंकि उनको मालूम ही नहीं है कि क्या करना है। मैंने पहले भी बताया कि ये एक इंटेंशन होना चाहिए, उसको कुछ करना है, और कुछ करना है तो किस सेगमेंट में, उसको अपने इंडस्ट्रीज का फोरकास्ट करना पड़ेगा कि मैं जो इंडस्ट्रीज में जो सेगमेंट में हूँ, मेरे पास जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बेसिक है, जो मैन पावर है, मेरे पास एग्जिस्टिंग जो भी फाइनेंशियल सेटअप है, उसमें मैं एग्जिस्टिंग प्रोडक्ट से कैसे बेहतर प्रोडक्ट बनाऊं, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, बेहतर प्रोडक्ट के साथ साथ मैं ऐसा कौन सा नया इनोवेशन लूं जो मुझे केसे में राइज में लेके जाए। ये थॉट प्रोसेस जो इंडस्ट्रीज करेंगी वो के का राइज वे पकड़ेंगी, और जो सोच रहे कि जो होता आया है होता रहेगा। रिसेशन तो 1991 में भी आया था, 2008 में भी आया, और ये पैंडेमिक के बाद भी हम जिंदा रह पाएंगे। तो मैं नहीं चाहता कि आप के सेप का राइस पकड़ोगे। आत्मनिर्भर बनने के लिए अगर आप बिंदु पे खड़े हो और आपको मालूम नहीं है अभी कहाँ जाना है, तो आपको एटलीस्ट 3 दिन के लिए बैठ जाना पड़ेगा और सोचना पड़ेगा, पेपर पे लिखना पड़ेगा कि आपको क्या करना है, आप कहाँ पे हो और कहाँ जाना है, कैसे जाना है। अगर आप खुद एक पेज पे एक क्वेश्चन लिखोगे और अपने आप को आंसर दोगे, आपको अपना रास्ता मिलेगा। अगर इंडियन एंटरप्रेन्योर वाकई सर्वाइवल होने के बजाय कुछ करने का सोचेगा, तब जाके वो सर्वाइवल होगा। और अगर वो सोचेगा कि मैं सर्वाइवल कर पाऊंगा, तो डाउनफॉल में जाएगा। क्योंकि आज लास्ट पैंडेमिक के बाद हर इंडस्ट्रीज एंटरप्रेन्योर मालिक पैसा फैक्ट्री में डाल रहा है, उठाने की बजाय पे वो डाल रहा है, और कहाँ तक डालेगा उसका एक लिमिटेशन लगा। और अगर वहां पे उसने अपनी सोच को चेंज नहीं किया, एक्सिस्टिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को इम्प्रूव नहीं किया, वर्कफोर्स को ट्रेनिंग नहीं दिया, तो बैंकरप्ट होने के 100% चांसेस है। तो के सेप में ऑलमोस्ट 30% एमएसएमई सेक्टर ग्रो कर सकती है, जिनके पास सोच है, जिनके पास प्रोडक्ट है, जिनके पास सेल्फ बिलीफ है। रेस्ट पीपल के का डाउनफॉल पकड़ेंगे। और अगर के का डाउनफॉल ज्यादा इंडस्ट्रीज ने ले लिया, तो भारत के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा खतरा है। मेक इन इंडिया प्रोजेक्ट और स्टार्टअप जैसा फेल हुआ, वैसे आत्मनिर्भर भी फेल होने की 100% संभावना है। इससे बाहर निकलने के लिए मैंने जो क्वेश्चन रेस किए, वो क्वेश्चन पेपर पे लिख के खुद आंसर लेना है। रास्ता अपने आप निकलेगा, तब जाके हम रियल सेंस में आत्मनिर्भर बन पाएंगे। और उसके लिए भी एक टाइम बनाना पड़ेगा कि 2 साल, 3 साल या 5 साल। विदाउट टाइम लिमिट आप आत्मनिर्भर अभियान का पार्ट नहीं बन सकते। तो ये मेरा एक सेल्फ कंक्लूजन है अपने लिए, अपने इंडस्ट्रीज के दोस्तों के लिए।
थैंक यू डॉक्टर पटेल।
थैंक यू।
बहुत बड़ी बात है। थैंक यू। शैलेंद्र सर।
Yeah. Now, as you know, I wear different hats. I am a business analyst. I am a manufacturer myself, and I am also a strategist. And the most important of all is that I'm a great optimist. So I do not fear problems. To any intensity, those problems could come, because I firmly believe for every problem there is at least one solution, if not many. And like rightly said by Arvind Bhai, that if there is a problem, you will have to think differently. You will have to innovate. And this is where I'm coming from. Let me take you with certain numbers, because I'm crazy about numbers. So I always refer them. So pre-COVID, we were at 4.1 on the GDP. And when the COVID came in, the first Q1, we went down to minus 29.3. In the Q2, we came up, I would say, although in the minus, but we came up from minus 29 to minus 8.7. And now between Q3 and Q4, the forecasts are already that we will get into the positives, or we will climb up that negatives and get into the positive mode. And the pre-COVID levels, most of the Indian industry or the manufacturing sector will achieve by March 22. So today we are in December. So exactly 15 months from now, we would be at a pre-COVID situation where we would have really taken care of all the problems. Basically, the pandemic would have been taken care of because vaccine is just around the corner. Everything will work out. The numbers are under control in many states. Some states are still suffering, but then because of that cold wave, I think those problems will come. So pandemic is taken care of. Let us assume that, because the government is working very strongly on that. So the numbers are really indicating towards a growth pattern. I don't know whether U, V, or K or whatever it is, but coming down on the field, I can see that the demands are revving up pretty fast. I can give my own example that last 8 months have been the most busiest months as far as I was concerned on demand, because of the suggestion which Arvind Bhai has put it forward, that we had to resort to a different aspects of doing business. China-US fallout really created a whole lot of opportunities for Indian manufacturers. And this we started feeling almost 17 or 18 months ago, pre-COVID itself. So March was the COVID beginning, and 6 months before that, we started feeling the effect of China alternate sourcing coming to India. And that was one avenue which opened so much that all our inquiry base had gone up tremendously. Secondly, after COVID, uh, the opinions really became very, very strong, and people started looking at India as one of the biggest manufacturing hub. So let us not lose hope. All the manufacturing fraternity should not lose hope, because we could become the world's manufacturing destination from the times to come. We could also become world's biggest exporter of healthcare products. This is all the industry experts who are saying this, and I am not the one who's going to lose hopes on that, because if certain sectors are not doing good, there are a whole lot of other sectors who have done very well. For example, e-commerce, for example, agriculture, for example, healthcare, for example, automotive has picked it up. Almost 77 to 80% of their demands have come up, and people might close it around 70 or 80% of their planned demands. And then the biggest of the chunk is IT. IT has been growing. So there are 6 or 7 sectors which are compensating on the losses which other sectors have maybe made it, and then creating that balance in the economy. And that is where these numbers are coming into positives. So yes, this happens in a life cycle of any business or any country. And therefore, my optimism still remains that we will bounce back next year, meaning in April 21 to March 22, we will bounce back, and each of our industry friends will experience all these things, provided they also think in the manner that Arvind Bhai has said, or I am trying to project it within my own industry, where our inquiry books are very, very floating, or rather bloating. And then we are getting too many such RFQs coming from different countries in Europe and USA. So my take on this is that I am not that U, V, or K type, but I know for sure that India is going to bounce back. If we can't, then who will?
God knows that we need these words of hope and optimism, each one of us. And this has been a very lively, very positive, very optimistic debate. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your views. They have lifted my day, and I believe that they have done the same to our viewers as well. So at the end of it, Atmanirbharta is a goal worth striving for, and we have to begin the change with ourselves as manufacturers. Thank you so much for an engaging debate. You have a very, very great day ahead. Thank you.
थैंक यू।
आनंद जी, क्वेश्चन आया था
जी।
शीट
अच्छा।
मेटल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इंडस्ट्रीज का। क्वेश्चन है कि इंडियन शीट मेटल मशीनिंग प्रोडक्ट इन ग्लोबल मार्केट
जी।
is rely on quality or price,
जी।
and when it come Indian machines,
जी।
मतलब क्वालिटी पे टिकेगा या प्राइस पे टिकेगा। मैं एग्जांपल इस तरह से दूंगा कि शीट मेटल फैब्रिकेशन इंडस्ट्रीज वो इंडियन इकोनॉमी का वन ऑफ द पार्ट है। ऑटोमोबाइल का एक सब्सिडियरी प्रोडक्ट है शीट मेटल फैब्रिकेशन इंडस्ट्रीज। इलेक्ट्रिकल पैनल शीट मेटल फैब्रिकेशन इंडस्ट्री, तो शीट मेटल फैब्रिकेशन इंडस्ट्रीज का एक बहुत बड़ा योगदान है जीडीपी का ग्रोथ करने के लिए, एम्प्लॉयमेंट एम्पावर करने के लिए। लेकिन हमारा जो एस्थेटिक लुक शीट मेटल फैब्रिकेशन में है वो हम प्रॉपर नहीं कर पा रहे, इसलिए हमें ग्लोबल मार्केट में खड़े रहने के लिए दिक्कत है। और रही बात प्राइस की, तो हमारा मेन पावर, लेबर कॉस्ट एक्सपेंसिव है, रॉ मटेरियल कॉस्ट एक्सपेंसिव है, और बाकी जो भी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी है वो सभी एक्सपेंसिव है। तो प्राइस के तौर पे भी हमको इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे खड़ा रहना हमारे लिए दिक्कत है। और एक हमारा माइंडसेट, आज 1 लाख अगर इंडस्ट्रीज एमएसएमई में शीट मेटल फैब्रिकेशन पकड़ते हैं तो मुश्किल से 10 इंडस्ट्रीज ऐसी है जिनको अच्छा प्रोडक्ट बनाना है, बर्फ फ्री बनाना है। आई एम फ्रॉम डीबरिंग बिजनेस। डीबरिंग एंड surface finishing is most important part in sheet metal fabrication industries. अगर बर्फ फ्री सरफेस नहीं रहा तो हैंडलिंग में एक्सीडेंट होने के चांसेस है, और ये कहा जाता है ह्यूमन हजारियस में। तो ये सिर्फ मल्टीनेशनल और टॉप लेवल कंपनीज में सोच चल रही है कि हाउ टू अवॉइड ह्यूमन हजारियस। ये चीज अगर बॉटम पे भी लेके आएंगे तो डेफिनेटली इंडियन शीट मेटल इंडस्ट्रीज ग्लोबल में कॉम्पीट कर पाएंगी। तो हमारी वहां पे भी सोच बदलने की जरूरत है कि हर स्टेज में क्वालिटी कंट्रोल इम्प्रूवमेंट चाहिए, और हर स्टेज में अप टू द मार्क, या तो बीट योर बेस्ट, जो भी आप दे सकते हो उसको बीट करके कैसा बेस्ट देना, इस कंसेप्ट पे जाएंगे तो इंडियन शीट मेटल इंडस्ट्रीज ग्लोबलाइजेशन में एक टॉप 10 के नंबर में आ सकती है, जो आज नहीं है। तो ये किसी ने क्वेश्चन किया था तो मैंने आपको रिप्लाई दिया। थैंक यू वेरी मच। आनंद जी कुछ और हो तो बताइए।
जी। जी। नहीं, बहुत इंसाइटफुल था, और इस पर राउंड अप करते हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आप दोनों का।
थैंक
दिस
यू,
वाज अ वेरी लाइवली डिबेट। थैंक यू सर। हैव अ
थैंक यू,
ब्रिलियंट डे।
थैंक यू, थैंक यू।